one, and
Welcome, WrestleBuddy.
Yes.
Welcome, WrestleBuddies, to our weekly podcast. We're doing a bit of a special here today regarding the releases. I am joined by Jimmy Baby, my Drift Foundation brother, and our newcomer to our podcast, Bam. Welcome, Bam.
Hello.
How are we doing?
All right, with fireworks and stuff, and yeah. And I'm not in my own house, I'm at my nan's, so I have plates.
Oh, lovely. Not a bad background. Jimmy, how are we doing?
Good. Getting some cold weather finally. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, we're the same over here. It's starting to get a bit cold and that now. So, guys, what we're obviously here for is to talk about the current crop of releases. So, what's your first thoughts on that?
Oh, Lord. Well, I was not very happy because I had to write news at 11 last night.
Mm-hmm.
So I was tired. And then I just saw some of the names and was like, what is happening? I don't understand half of the releases that have happened in the last 18 months. Because I'm like, how do you mess up those people?
Yeah, I get you. What about you, Jimmy? What do you think on this?
I feel like with the other releases, we've gotten like one name each time that kind of was like, what were they thinking? And I feel like this time there was quite a few of them. Still can't wrap my head around the Keith Lee thing. Less than 2 years ago, he was on the verge of being their biggest star with the Survivor Series moment, the Royal Rumble moment. Just strap the rocket to him, let him go, and now he's gone. I don't get it. That one hurt me a little bit.
Yeah, I get it. I do get it. I mean, I'll tell you straight, apart from that moment that he had on the Survivor Series, I didn't think he had a good run whatsoever on the main roster.
No.
Instead of calling him up to the main roster after that, they just let him stay on NXT, and I think that was a mistake. I think at the Royal Rumble, they should have just pulled the trigger on him and put him to the main roster and had him on that Mania, because the momentum was clearly with him, and they just pushed him down and let him stay down in NXT, and he fizzled out.
Okay, but do you not feel like, I understand that he fizzled out, but do you not feel like, that if he was meant to get to the top, he would have?
No, I think he had something get in his way, because when he came to the main roster, they gave him some wins, and then he had the COVID, and then he had the other health complications that set him back. They brought him back, and apparently the Bearcat thing wasn't his idea, but I personally think it was working. I think it was. He looked more confident than he has on the main roster with the Bearcat gimmick, and I was really looking forward to seeing where they were going to go with it. And they just pulled the plug on it.
Yeah. Well, one thing I will say is I've seen an article before that says, after this releases, I'll let you both answer this one. How many superstars do you think WWE will have left on the roster now?
I have no idea.
Okay, Jimmy, about you?
Enough.
Okay, go on, give us a number.
It almost seems like I listened to the Cornette Experience quite a bit, and they did a fantasy draft a few months ago, and the formula is 8 superstars and then build around those 8 with just people you plug in and pull out. And it seems like that might be the route they're going here for each show. Just give you a few to work around.
Before you say that, come on, give me a number.
As of right now,
between Raw and SmackDown, yeah.
Between Raw and SmackDown, I'm gonna go ahead and say 72.
200.
There's still 200 people on the roster between those.
Where are they all?
That's wild.
Yep.
That's not including NXT.
No, 200.
Oh, I don't even know who's in NXT anymore.
Yeah,
that's wild.
So it's I understand these releases are not great; they never are, but it just shows you how WWE have been hoarding talent for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just going to read out the list of people who did get who left the main roster at that time. Okay, so we've had Nia Jax, Eva Marie, Mia Yim, Keith Lee, Karrionn Kross, Harry Smith, He actually only made one dark appearance, didn't he? Grand Metallic, Lince Dorado, B-Fab, and we had Scarlett, Frankie Monet, Ember Moon, Wally Lochran, Jessie Kamena, Katrina Cortez, Jeet Rama, Trey Baxter, and Zaida Ramia. So, just as we've been talking, Karrionn Kross has tweeted out in regards to his helmet with the caption, "Nobody wants to wear this piece of shit."
Fully agree.
Yeah,
I think everybody in the IWC can actually agree on something for a change.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I'm going to make a few comments on some of them, and it's probably a good place to start. For me, I didn't like Karrionn Kross. I never liked him in NXT. I never liked him on the main roster. I didn't like him anywhere across it. I thought he was good with the whole kind of package with Scarlett was really nice, and it looked really good. But even his in-ring work and stuff like that, I wasn't a fan. You know, maybe it's just me, but I wasn't a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of a lot of NXT superstars, and I love them. You know, when they come up to the main roster, I've got high hopes for them and stuff like that. But with Karrionn, I don't know why, but I just didn't connect with him. What's your thoughts on that, Bam? On Karrionn first.
Well, I really like Karrionn Kross. I always have. Like when he was Killer Kross, and then like he wasn't wrestling for a bit. And then when he got signed, I was like, he's going to NXT. He's going to be with Scarlett. It's going to be great. And it was. And then when they moved him up and left Scarlett behind, I was like, what are you doing? They have like this really interesting dynamic and story. Obviously, she's the one controlling him because every time he wins, she's right there doing her like cool witchy thing, which I love.
Yeah.
And then they moved him up to the main roster, and I was like, what is this? What? This isn't the guy.
Yeah, he looked like a crazy rip-off of Demolition, didn't he, Jimmy? What was your thoughts on him?
So ugly.
I think the thing that sucks about Karrionn is he didn't fit with NXT because he doesn't do that style of wrestling. I liked it though because it gave the show a little something different. I for the life of me, because the whole package worked great on NXT. It would have worked so much better on the main roster. For the life of me, I don't get why you wouldn't just bring it over, because you hear the rumors about they get the indie talent and then they gotta teach them how to wrestle the NXT way, and then they leave NXT, come to the main roster, they gotta learn to wrestle Vince's way. I feel like Karrionn Kross was already there. There was no need to change anything about him. Like he was there. And if you bring him up with Scarlett and you do the shtick that he had in NXT and it doesn't work, then okay, I won't fault you for, I guess, releasing him. But I don't think he got a fair chance on the main roster. I just don't. I think that was another one that just kind of blew me away. Like, why? It doesn't make sense.
Okay, well, one that we've just released now on WrestleBuddy website, and I am going to just read it out, was Nia Jax. Now, I know a lot of people are saying Nia wasn't a surprise. She was a surprise for me because as much as the stories of her hurting people and stuff, she's always been really solid. Dependable, and she's been there a long time, and also she hasn't got no other previous wrestling experience per se, so she fits in with the whole WWE. She is a homegrown WWE manufactured star, and you know, so that was really surprising on me. So this is what Nia had to say. So I usually keep my personal life private, but yesterday reports leave me with no option but to clarify matters. I recently took a short leave of absence from WWE for a mental health break. I've been working through so much, more than I can share, so I took some time with the full support of the company to take care of myself. Now, earlier this week, after WWE sent me my schedule to return to the ring for the November 15th show, I asked for an extension into my mental health break, feeling that I needed more time and hoping I would have the ongoing support of the company I've given all to for the past 7 years. I did not receive a response. The next I heard, I was being released. My vaccination status was never mentioned. I wasn't given any choices or options. It breaks my heart to be so abruptly let go without consultation when dealing with so much privately. I love my career at WWE and love the men and women I work with, and I'm going to need the time to process this huge loss. I appreciate those people who have shown understanding and compassion during this incredibly difficult time. So, Bam, we'll go to you first. What's your thoughts on that statement by Nia?
So I'm a huge mental health advocate because, you know, I deal with it on a daily basis. And I completely understand why she would need to take that time. So it is really upsetting to hear that she wanted an extension and the company just didn't, you know, and they'd sent her a schedule. But then at the same time, there's been rumors that she's difficult backstage and that, you know, she's injured people. And I honestly don't think she's very good in the ring.
No, but she is a WWE manufactured star, isn't she? And
for me,
obviously,
I would have let her go ages ago. But that's just like my personal opinion. I feel like everything she's done kind of has not worked, apart from her team up with Tamina. But I always thought she wouldn't be let go because of her family connections.
Yep.
But even they don't seem to even in storyline acknowledge that they're related to her.
No. So I thought she went to be important to the Bloodline storyline at some point.
I mean, I feel like Naomi and Tamina would work way better in that, but you know.
One thing I will say is, you know, if the fact that they sent a schedule to return to work on the 15th of November and she's asked for more time and then they've released it, it doesn't look good for them. It doesn't look good for WWE, does it, Jimmy?
That's shady as hell.
I think it's an unfortunate timing coincidence, if anything. I know they sent her the schedule. That's what they're saying. But I've worked for a company that like was going out of business and they didn't give anybody any information and they kept things going as normal to just for morale purpose or just that's the way you do things. Like you keep doing things as if business is good. And then the decision was made and she got her papers. And as Bam pointed out, I feel like it's something they could have done a while ago based on just how not great she's been in the ring. And
one thing I will say though is just be, you know, where you go back to a company that was going out of business, just to put everybody at rest, WWE released their quarterly earnings and it was up 15% on last year. So
yeah, they seem to always do these releases as they confirm, like, oh, our revenue's gone up. Very odd.
I think money goes like I've said this to multiple people. I'll say it every time these releases happen and people get a lot of people. It's fake outrage. I understand it's not cool to see it happen, but a lot of it's fake outrage because Nia Jax is a perfect example. How often do we see people praising Nia Jax? Hardly ever.
I'm the same.
I know. I'm getting to a point though with it. But like you don't ever see people praising Nia Jax. Now she's getting released and she's like, and it's all, oh, this is wrong, blah blah, the whole thing. But with the earnings that they're bringing in, it goes to the entire company, and each in the company you have different divisions that all have budgets. And if you're constantly bringing in these new people for the performance center, you got to make room for that roster budget by trimming some of the people that maybe haven't been pulling their weight. Maybe they haven't progressed like they thought, or maybe they just don't see any kind of future or money making with them. Yeah. So they cut ties with them.
I totally agree with you, Jimmy. You know, I do believe that all these people on the roster, there's even Keith Lee to an extent on my part, I don't feel like it's a big shock because they haven't been doing anything with him. And if they're not going to do nothing with him, then, you know, move him on. If he doesn't fit in with what they're trying to look for, move him on. And Nia Jax isn't even a surprise to me on the list. The only surprise to me is when you read that statement that she released. For me, it's kind of, well, if that's the situation and they've given a road, you know, schedule and then they've turned around and binned it off because she's requested more time off it, you know, for me personally, it's something WWE would do. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It fits in with the current that Nick Khan's really ruthless, and you know maybe he's looked at it and because he said he's discussed the releases and they're like, okay, well she's not in a great place. She doesn't look like she's going to come back anytime soon. Let's just cut our losses and get rid of her, which you know is not really a good look when you've got somebody who's clearly was dealing with some issues. Do you know what I mean?
And also, like, when someone loses their job, especially if they're in that mindset where they're not okay, that doesn't help the situation.
No, it certainly doesn't. And also, as I say, you know, if they were going to get rid of it anyway, I'd be fine. But I'm not buying that because there's no way they send it a schedule. And obviously, I know WWE book the talent's flights nowadays and stuff like that.
Yeah, they do.
You know, why would they book flights and stuff like that for somebody that they were going to release anyway?
I'll go back. I'll go back to the company I work for that went out of business, and we all everyone lost their jobs and everything. The day we found out they were shutting the doors, they had hired 2 people to come on, and I was training those people. So it's just a matter of business. You just do business as usual.
Yeah.
So I think that's what this is, and I think it's an easy target to go after WWE just because of the perception that people have with them now, the reputation they've gotten, and it's fair because I mean they've done some terrible things, but I think it's just a matter of that reputation and this coincidental timing. It's just an easy target to be like, WWE, this is WWE, this is what they do.
Yeah, to be fair, it's not even the fact of WWE with these releases, because a lot of them I agree with, you know, I really do. Yeah. It's just, you know, if it's that kind of case with Nia Jax, and the other thing you've got to put into perspective as well is if you've got a girl here who's dealing with mental health problems. Now, let's not forget she was manufactured in the WWE. She was brought in, she was trained up, she was put onto the roster. You know, whether she hurt people or not, that's, you know, WWE. I've got a lot to answer for that because they trained her. Yeah. You know, but also from, you know, if you're somebody like a Frankie Monet, for instance, you've been onto the indie circuit before, you know how to go and get booked, you know you've got other options out there. For somebody like Nia Jax, who's never been outside of that WWE bubble, it's probably going to come as a massive shock to her. And then you've got her already dealing with mental health issues. You know, why would you not just keep hold of her, work her through them, and then release it? You know, do you not think they've got a duty of care to this girl because of the, you know, what they've gone through with her in his career, as it were?
I feel like that's it's a touchy subject because I don't want to come across as insensitive at all. Because I hope the best for all of them. Like I do, but with Nia Jax, like I said, I feel like it's just, again,
you know, it's like, for instance, if you leave the military, Jimmy, once you leave the military, it's not like they open the gates and go to you know, they have a resettlement team. They help you get settled back into civilian life. They help you get stuff sorted. And, you know, I know she hasn't been in the military, but I'm just using it as something as this girl's the WWE all she's ever known. So realistically, they should be giving her a bit of support and help.
Well, I'm just gonna use other people's experiences that they've talked about prior. John Moxley, they reached out to help him after he was already gone. They did the same for Chelsea Green. I would think they're gonna still offer her help if she was to like verbally like say, "Hey, this is what's happening, and I need help." I think WWE would definitely help her just because one, the family, the connection, and two, the fact that she was a homegrown kind of product of them. I don't think they would just like release her and just leave her for the wolves as far as the mental health aspect. And honestly, it wouldn't even surprise me if in a few months she ended up back in WWE. Maybe cut her to make her contract a little bit smaller and I guess easier on the books. I could see that happening with her.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to some of the other ones we've already spoke about. Now, Harry Smith's a very strange one for me because he only ever made an appearance in a dark match, and it's kind of, why would you bring somebody in and then just release them like that? You know, at the end of the day, if they didn't like him, then why did they sign him? At that point, they should have just really give him a dark match, had a look at him, and, you know, let's face it, they probably been looking at him for months beforehand. So And obviously he's got the nostalgia there, and he owns the name to the British Bulldog Junior. So maybe that's something to do with it. Maybe they wanted to go down a different direction, and he wanted to keep the British Bulldog Junior moniker going. What's your thoughts on that, Bam?
It's an odd thing because obviously there were rumors for a good 6 months before he got signed, And I was loving the stuff he was doing in Bloodsport. I just really love Bloodsport, and I just feel like he was really getting somewhere again, because I loved his time in New Japan, and they left New Japan and everything. And then he got signed, and then we just haven't seen him. Like, and it's like, you have a second or third generation wrestler there. They have connections to the Hearts. They have connections to British wrestling. Like, there's so much you can do with him. He's got like the right look. He can do everything. And you've done nothing with him. And I just don't get it. I don't get why you would sign someone knowing full well what they can do and just not do anything with them.
Yeah, and you know, I know he had COVID, or I've heard. Obviously, we had nothing confirmed, and we never did that. He had COVID a while back, which delayed his debut. Now, just going forward for Harry, AEW have got to sign him, haven't they? I know that we always say AEW has to sign wrestlers when they get released, but you know, from a point of view of AEW for marketing purposes, you've got someone who's Bret Hart's family, so he's obviously big in Canada, and he's got them. Then obviously the British Bulldog Jr. gimmick, which he owns, so he can take that. No, that doesn't belong to WWE, that belongs to Harry Smith, because Davey Boy owned the gimmick as well. And you know, obviously I know that there's a lot of talk about AEW trying to get into the British market next year, so he'd be a perfect fit, you know, I think, Jimmy.
Oh, absolutely. And with the Owen Hart Invitational coming up, I mean, it's another nice tie-in. It might be a thing where WWE was maybe trying to use him, signing him as like a leverage thing. And then then AEW does the Owen Hart announcement thing, and they're like, well, there goes our plan. We have no need for him at this point.
But they've already got Natalia if they wanted to do that, if they know.
Wouldn't Harry Smith Jr. have a closer connection to Martha or that Owen's wife? Wouldn't that be a closer connection as far as the family goes than Natalia?
No, because
I don't really know.
Mom's the sister of Brett.
Yeah, I think that Owen's kids were close with Natalia, wasn't he, growing up, and Harry obviously as well. So you don't know, do you? I mean, obviously the two of them are both daughters of a Hart sister, aren't they? So you know, you don't really know which ones are on which sides with regards to that, because there's the whole big mess, isn't it? That family.
Yeah, I'm just pulling out something to try and make sense of why they would bring him in, like you said, sign him, bring him in for one dark match, then be done with him. Because now you've paid him for 3 months, and then you got to pay him for another 3 months because he's going to be on that 90-day. So it's like that was a very strange one to even sign.
I tell you what's another
decision.
I tell you what's another bad one for me, and do you know what? For me, she's the one that's posted the best Twitter response so far, Eva Marie. I don't really know why they signed her back again. The Evolution didn't last very long, did it? And I don't know whether you've seen on her Twitter, she just released a picture of it on set going, great day of filming. Can't wait to be involved in this movie. And so she's just business as usual. You know, what's your thoughts on that, Jimmy?
I mean, good for her. She's got a good head on her shoulders. I would like to just point out the hypocrisy amongst a bunch of people when they get mad about these releases, but then Eva Marie gets released and they're all like, yeah, they're celebrating it. And I feel like that's a real piece of shit move, honestly. It's like, come on. I mean, she's a person just like everyone else. Just because you don't necessarily like her doesn't mean she deserves to be treated less.
And, you know, give it a due. She's been released. She got released before and she come back soon, though.
Yeah.
Reinvented herself.
So, there was one person, I don't remember who it was, but it was a podcast I listened to. It's probably Jim Cornette again. But he was talking about how Eva Marie, it almost seems like they brought in Eva Marie to lure Parker Boudreaux in, because that's who was taking all the pictures with him at first. Just entice him to come on over to WWE, sign him, and then, all right, Eva, we don't need you. We got what we wanted.
Yeah, but also let's not forget she was a mainstream name as well, because she'd been on Big Brother in America, and she got a lot more eyes on her than, and obviously, as she's proven with this post on Twitter, she's obviously got other things in the bag, hasn't she? Yeah. So good luck to her in my eyes, you know.
Yeah, like
absolutely.
I have never been a fan of Eva Marie's wrestling style.
Mm.
I love Total Divas. It's kind of my thing. I'm big into it, and I loved her on it because she was so shady. I loved it. I just love that kind of reality show crap. It makes me feel better about my life. And I always found her quite interesting and like nice, but her in-ring work wasn't great. I don't like the way her first run went. When she was getting trained, it looked like she was actually getting somewhere, but she wasn't trained nearly enough to be in the position she was in.
Mm-hmm.
And then she came back, and I was like, she hasn't really improved.
No.
But I'm kind of enjoying this thing they're doing with her, and then it just like, yet again, they just kind of dropped it. But then like she took time off as well to go and shoot that movie, and now she's been released.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully she's got to drop on the main roster, or Piper Nivens, as we like to call her over here. So hopefully we'll see, so hopefully her second run wasn't in vain and she's actually got Piper onto the main roster. So, I'm not mad at that. And hopefully we see Piper go from strength to strength.
Piper actually put out a tweet saying like how lovely and nice Eva Marie was and how much she actually helped her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's really nice, actually.
Lovely. Yeah. Now, the next one I want to talk about is Frankie Monet. They haven't really done a lot with Frankie on the roster. Now, I had a discussion with one of the guys from TNA about this before, and he's very vocal about the fact that she's a very talented athlete, etc., etc. Yes, she is, but she's also old, and no disrespect intended, but she's never going to be a Becky Lynch or a Bianca Belair or a Charlotte Flair. She never was going to be at that level. So, if WWE are looking for them level of performers, and, Jimmy, you made a very valid point of WWE want this certain style for the main roster.
Yeah.
And, Frankie's coming from Impact, and she's been other places as well. Yeah. And she, by the time they got her up to that maybe level to get her to the main roster, she's probably only going to float around that roster anyway, and we know they don't put a lot of women's matches on the main roster shows. So for me personally, I haven't really got no problem with this. One thing I will say though is I thought was very strange is if they were going to release Frankie, I thought they would have released Johnny Morrison, not Johnny Zip Zip, alongside him. What's your thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Yeah, when I saw Frankie's name, I thought for sure Morrison's name was one of the next ones coming out, because they haven't really. It's like they don't know what to do with him now that Miz is gone, which sucks because I feel like a lot of people were wanting to see what he could do once he left Miz, and it's been nothing. So with releases, it was like, yeah, Morrison's gone, and nope, he's still there. So it doesn't seem like there's any, I guess, reason for the stuff. Really, like there's no not reason, but correlation with things. It doesn't make sense. Like I don't know why you would keep them if you're getting.
I don't think we've seen the last of these releases. If you look at most of them releases, they are from Raw rather than SmackDown. I believe we may see some more. Don't know whether, especially with a 200 person roster.
They did say after the last batch that this was going to be a common thing. It's going to be you're going to see it all the time now. So
and one other thing as well is obviously saying Johnny Morrison they don't really know what to do with him out the Miz. Well, great news, Bam. The Miz got knocked out of Dancing with the Stars the other night. I know it's Jimmy's favourite show, so I bet he's gutted. So we'll probably see him back on the roster soon.
I'm so sad. I was like, how? No. I don't even want to get into a Dancing with the Stars thing because I'll just get upset.
Do you think we'll see the Miz and Morrison back together when the Miz returns?
I don't know.
Or do you think we'll see that feud that we kind of got teased with Jimmy before he went missing?
Hoping we get the feud because that's what they were going to do. And then obviously it got put on hold because the Miz was going on to Dancing with the Stars, but they should have known in advance that was going to happen. So why did they not just like hold it off? They could have done so much more with that entire storyline. They could have waited, had John Morrison like realized like, oh, I need my friend, but where is he? Oh, he's off trying to like be a big star. And then that could have fueled the breakup and the feud, but they just like pulled the trigger too early. They should have made it longer form. But this is WWE, so you know. What do
right,
I
so
know?
the next one I want to talk about very, very quickly, because she never actually made an appearance on the main roster. B-Fab, what on earth are they doing there? You know, I thought she was. Sorry, go on, Jimmy.
Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna just knock this one out real quick. I feel like she's been there for 2 years. She's had one match. That match was awful.
Oh, it was
so in that 2 years.
Garbage.
Is in the 2 years she's there, she hadn't improved a bit, and I don't want to sound disrespectful. What I'm saying is like I understood that one completely, 100%, because it was like,
do you not think she's like kind of part of that group though, and she looks good in that group? And
I think the group can move on without her. I think it's fresh to SmackDown. Nobody really got attached to that yet, and with her gone, it's not going to hurt Hit Row at all. Okay, if it was an NXT, it would hurt him a little bit, but not on SmackDown. It's a new act there. So,
what's your thoughts on B-Fab?
Well, I was just a little taken aback because they got to the main roster. They had a tiny little segment, and they were like backstage, but it wasn't like anything important. And then they released her, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that one match she had was awful. But you've literally introduced this team. Luckily, hasn't allowed for people to get too attached yet. And then you release her, and it's like you should have just like, if you felt like it wasn't going to work with her, not sent her up with them.
Yeah, they could have parted ways in NXT before they come up.
Sanity Nikki Cross kind of thing, which I never understood. Why they took Nikki Cross out.
No. Okie doke. Well, the last one, and to be honest, one of the most surprising ones for me, and I believe AEW would be absolutely stupid not to act on this one. Ember Moon. You know, Ember Moon is such a good worker. She's got such a great look. You know, I really don't understand this one. What's your thoughts on this, Jimmy? Go to you first.
Ember's another one. I thought Ember was gone with the last batch, honestly. And it's not a knock on her because I think she's fantastic in the ring. I think her style, though, and I think the biggest thing that has prevented her from getting over is her finisher. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but with her finisher, it kind of takes a setting up thing. And when you have that kind of finisher, I feel like the people that are getting over are the people that can kind of like, in the matches, they can hit the finisher kind of out of nowhere, get the win. That's part of the package of like the top people. You don't see many people with the finishers where they got to set up, they got to wait, and they got to execute it absolutely perfectly for it to even look what effective. And I think that's the biggest thing that held her back, because I personally think that's a big thing with talent. And she just never got over. They sent her back to NXT to see if something could click, and it really hasn't. She just seems like she's out of place at this point. So I think it's probably the best thing for her to get released right now.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on it, on Ember Moon? Bam.
I've been a big fan of Ember Moon since she came to NXT. There's just something about her I really loved. I love her in-ring style. I was actually shocked to see her name, but I guess it does make sense now that I've had about like almost a day to process, because I really enjoyed her in NXT and her like title run, and I loved her match against Shayna Baszler. It was so good. And then she went up to the main roster, and I feel like she was really she wasn't used the way she should have been, but she was always about. And then she got injured, and that kind of stopped her momentum for a very long time because it was a serious injury. Then she came back, and they didn't know what to do with her. And I loved, but when she went back to NXT, I loved Team Fern and Shotzi together. It just worked so well. And then Shotzi's now on the main roster. And it's like, oh, right, don't know what to do with you now, Ember. And it's like, she's so goddamn talented. Why? Like, I just don't get. Plus, I have an issue with the way like the women's division is at the moment anyway. Because I don't know what they're doing, and it hurts. I just love her.
Okay, well, just a little shout out to Ackerman. He's on the chat at the moment. He says Ziggler and Rude are in their 40s. How come they're saved? Because there's not a lot of people on there at the moment. You know what I mean? So in terms of tag teams, and the Dirty Dogs are a good tag team, both experienced wrestlers. So that's why I think they're going to stay on there. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap this up now. So just before we do wrap it up. Yeah, go for it, Jimmy.
It's a damn shame that Scarlett didn't get one single freaking match her entire time there. That's insane to me. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, it makes
you took her away from Karrionn Kross, and then we didn't even get a match.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but
shame, WWE.
I'm going to say exactly what most men, and sorry about this, Bam. You can put your earmuffs on if you want. Thank you, WWE, because Scarlett has apparently come out today and said that now she is leaving WWE. She wants to go and have a bra and panties match somewhere. So big shout out to Vince and the boys.
A hardcore bra and panties match.
It's a hardcore bra and panty match. And do you know what? She would rock it. Like, I fully support her doing it.
I would pay $20 to watch that.
It's rubbish that she never got a single freaking match, man.
No, and she's so good.
Yes.
Okay, guys. Well, before we wrap this up, we're just going to do a quick round robin of where we think each superstar will land. Okay. So first of all, we will go with Nia Jax. Jimmy.
WWE.
WWE, or she will just leave the business.
Interesting. I'm gonna go with a bit of a different one. This one, guys. I'm gonna go for Impact Wrestling.
Oh God, no! Please no! Please no!
I think she'll do well there. Eva Marie.
Oh,
she's done.
She's done.
Yeah, I agree. I think she'll go into movies and stuff like that now, and I think she'll do really, really well out of it. I really do, and not but the best to her. Maya Yim.
I'm thinking Impact. She might go back there, but if not, I would like to see an AEW because there's some great women she could like tear it up with.
I think the women are in a bit of a different situation because I feel like AEW's women's division is still a bit weak and it can do with a few more stars in there.
Yeah, and they're still building.
Yeah. So unlike the men's division where I think they've got to be very, very astute in what they bring in and what they don't at the moment, I believe the women's division's probably got a lot more gaps there. What do you think, Jimmy?
Yeah, I would say AEW, but because of who she's associated with and where I think he's going, I'm going to say Mia goes to Impact.
Okay, so on to the next one. No surprise there, Jimmy. Keith Lee.
And he's going to Impact as well.
Yeah, he'd kill it in Impact. Yeah, even though I would really enjoy him just... Well, I guess the Forbidden Door's open, so I guess he can always pop into AEW and...
No, that one...
closed. It's closed, open in time.
Forbidden Door's closed. No. Impact said, we are getting nothing from this deal, AEW, shutting the door.
That makes me sad, because I feel like they've done well with it.
It was like Target opening the doors and saying... Walmart customers can come in and shop for free.
Yeah. I think they still work with New Japan. I just think they're done with AEW.
I love New Japan.
Karrionn Kross.
Impact. I think Impact needs to make a play on a lot of these people to kind of
bring them back up
get themselves back up.
Going back to Impact would be quite interesting.
Okay. I'm gonna say New Japan. I think he'll go over to Japan with Scarlett. I think it'd be a really good move for the two of them. Harry Smith.
Ooh.
I like the AEW theory. I think that makes the most sense.
Okay.
Also, he already has connections there with Lance Archer being there, and then
use
on
him.
top of that, Brian Pillman Jr.'s there.
Okay, brilliant. Grand Metalik.
Grand Metalik. I'd love to see him in Triple R. because then they have that connection with AEW. But if he goes to CMLL, then he can work New Japan. I want him to wrestle everywhere.
Brilliant. I don't think I think Triple A is probably a really good place for him to go to, isn't it? Luchador style, brilliant. Lince Dorado.
Same.
Yeah. I just want, but I also want him to wrestle everywhere because I love Lince Dorado. He's fantastic.
Yeah. B-Fab.
I don't know. I don't think she ends up anywhere, honestly.
No.
See Rush Morgan in the chat, even Rush. Okay, let me just have a little look now. So we're going to move on. Scarlett, obviously, will go where Karrionn goes. Frankie Monet, where do we see Frankie going? Rise of the Valkyrie?
Well, I'd really like her to go back to Impact and win the tag belts and then win the new championship. I'd really like her in Impact. But also, there are women in AEW who she hasn't got to face yet. So I don't know, like both. All the
Great
places.
fit for AEW. Great fit for AEW.
So she has that Lucha Libre style, which would be really interesting for the women's division.
Yeah. One that's a no-brainer for me for AEW, Ember Moon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Jessie Kamea. I apologize.
Independence. Just she's gonna go through the independent scene. Nowhere in particular.
I literally don't know who that is.
He had his debut match on Tuesday, and he's gone on Thursday.
Was that on NXT?
Yes, it was on NXT.
Oh yeah, no, I don't know anyone from NXT.
Okay, well we're gonna wrap it up from there. Just one more thing that I do want to ask, and it's quite interesting, and that's why I wanted to ask these names before we went over this. Is nobody, whenever these releases happen, nobody ever mentions MLW. You know, if you were going to pick one off that list, who would you think would be a good fit for MLW?
Well, I don't really watch it, but I know Harry Smith used to be.
Yeah, Harry's been there
so
before,
that makes the most sense, I guess.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say that Keith Lee would be a good fit for MLW.
Oh no, he'd be great.
I don't know though. I don't watch it. I just see bits and pieces, and I'm going off of what I've heard. So.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a bit of MLW. I haven't watched it. You know, obviously in the UK we don't get it all the time, as Bam knows. But from what I've seen of it, it looks okay, and you know, maybe a star like a Keith Lee, or you know, maybe if they acquire a few of these stars, is, you know, for me personally, I think at the moment the way the wrestling industry is going, there's room to bring up another couple of promotions. You know, historically, you know, we always had WWE versus WCW, but don't forget we had ECW there for a little bit. I mean, I know ECW was one of them that kind of people missed it when it was gone rather than actually liked it while it was there. But you know, I believe at the moment we have got a lot of companies that could, and you know, a lot of talent that to go around them all. You know, MLW look like they've got a good show. They've got TV, which is quite good. NWA will come back. You know, Ring of Honor have popped out the way now, so there's no reason why someone like an MLW could not come and fill that gap that Ring of Honor are leaving, and start bringing through the next kinds of superstars that could be the stars of tomorrow. But yeah, no, we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
You've got GCW, which like I would love to see everyone be on at least one thing from GCW.
Well, they're doing all right, GCW. They're coming up a little bit.
I love them. Plus, they had an emo night last month, and that made me really happy.
All right, guys, we're going to cut it off there. But, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've seen a little bit in the chat. It's been a bit hard for me to keep up with the chat, but we will get better with that as we go on with these live streams. So thanks very much for watching us, and make sure you join us tomorrow night again for our weekly news roundup. Obviously, this was a special on the releases. We still will have our weekly lineup. So, Jimmy, thanks for joining us, mate, as always. And any final words from you?
Yeah. Hey, Triple H, I know you're watching. sell your shares, go buy Ring of Honor, and start your own company.
And Bam, thanks so much for joining us. Great to see a new face with the Wrestle Buddies. I know you're doing a lot of good work on the Wrestle Buddy website and around for us. So on behalf of all us Wrestle Buddies, brilliant. And we really appreciate you being part of the team. So welcome and thanks for joining us.
That's okay. I enjoyed myself.
Every one of you's in the chat, guys. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave us loads of comments, and join us again tomorrow at, I believe it's 9 p.m, but we will tweet it out if that changes. And we will see you again tomorrow. But for now, take care, guys. Bye now.